Hello and welcome to this Cartoon Smart video tutorial. We are exploring Adobe Illustrator CS5, and in this video I want to talk about the Revolve effect. And this right here is something I did with the Revolve effect, and don't ask me what it is. I have no idea. I was just making weird shapes and this is what I came out with. So I just needed something to put some text on it that said Revolve. Alright, so in order to use the Revolve tool, you have to have something to revolve. And let me just take a regular line segment, like right here, and I'm going to put it right about there. I'm going to hold on my shift just to make a straight line down. I'm going to take my pen tool and start right about there. And I have no idea what I'm making. I'm just going to make a shape. Oh no, maybe like a chess piece or something, or a game piece of some sort. Now what I'm doing is I'm just drawing the outer edge, and what the revolve is going to do is take that shape and kind of revolve it around the axis here. Right? Nothing spectacular here really. Alright, and then I'm just going to click on that and just go right back over to here. And I'm not going to keep this line that we made. I just wanted to have some sort of guide. But what I am going to do is take my direct selection tool and select the top anchor point right here, and then hold down my shift and select the bottom anchor point right there. And then up in my control panel, where I have all these alignment tools, I'm going to click on the left align so that these 2 points are now aligned perfectly with each other. And I'm just going to select away from that and take my regular selection tool and just select this whole thing here. And now I'm going to go to Effect, 3D, and then Revolve. And you get this handy options panel. And if you've watched a video on 3D bevel and extrude, you might be a little bit familiar with this already. Or you might be just familiar with it because you've used it before, and you may know more about it than I do. I'm kind of a dilettante when it comes to some of these fancy effects in here, but I'm going to do my best to demonstrate how this tool works. And this cube here basically determines the orientation of the object that you're going to be revolving. All right, and these are your three axes here. This is the x-axis, which goes from left to right, and your y-axis, which just goes up and down. So that line that I created as a guide initially would be on the y-axis, and then this guy right here is the z-axis, and these allow you to just manipulate your shape in 2D space, simulating 3D space. So in order to see what's going on here, I'm going to have to click on my preview button. Alright, and we get this kind of game looking piece with some highlights, and it's solid black, and I really didn't want that. What it's doing is using the stroke color that I chose. So I'm going to click on my fill swatch here. Actually, I can't because this thing is open, so I'm going to click OK on that. And I'm just going to take my fill swatch and just choose something, I don't know, maybe a yellowish green color right there. And come over to calculating. Alright, we really didn't see much go on there because it's using the stroke weight as the color. So if I take my stroke weight here and just get rid of it, alright, and now you can see that it's that nice greenish yellow color we chose. And in order to get back to that options panel, I don't want to use the effect menu again. I don't want to come down to 3D and go back into the revolve, because that's just going to try to create another instance of that effect, and it's going to just be one big mess. Matter of fact, we can do it just to see what happens. Click on Revolve, and click on Preview again. And I think it's going to have a real hard time doing this, but let's just see what happens, unless it starts taking forever. It's probably going to crash the program, actually. Maybe not. Yeah, I think it's just going to bog down, so I'm going to hit stop. Alright. We'll cancel that. What I really should have done was go to my window menu and open the appearance menu, because this is the menu, or this is the panel that you're going to want to get back into your 3D Revolve control panel from. And the appearance panel is just a little drawer, so to speak, that contains all the parameters or the properties of the object that you have selected. So if I click on my 3D Revolve, it's going to bring back the 3D Revolve options panel. And I click on preview once again. Now this box represents that object here, or the cube here represents this object. And I could grab this cube pretty much anywhere in here with my mouse and just start dragging, and what it does is it affects the orientation of that object. Alright, and you can input values numerically right here. Say I want to change the x-axis with a value. I can type maybe I don't know, -80, and just tap down. Alright, I don't really want to do that, but you can see if you mouse over the edges of this cube, and when they're red, that means you're affecting the x-axis, and if I mouse over the blue edges, that means if I start twirling it, it's going to affect things on the z-axis here. So what I want to do is I want to prop that back up. So I'm going to grab the red corners, or the red edges, and just kind of push it right back up like that. And when you manipulate your object from these edges, you can only manipulate that particular axis. Otherwise, you just click anywhere else in your object, and you can just manipulate it freely, like so. Alright, and here we have the opportunity to take our object and even 3D it even more, for lack of a better term. I can throw some perspective on there. Click right in here, and just maybe push my up arrows a little bit. Maybe that's not the best way. Let's trying to catch up anyway. So we'll give it a second. I'm getting over a cold here, so please bear with me. I spent the last 2 weeks not doing videos for this course because of it, and I think I'm getting to the point where I can at least talk without annoying you too much. Alright, let's use the slider here instead. Just maybe take that up a little bit like here. And, oops. And I'm not really seeing much of a change. You have to really slide that up. Okay, you can see a little bit more perspective there. I don't care for it, but alright, that's what it does. So I'm going to get that back to 0 and tab out of that. Okay, now this revolve angle here, let's kind of just look at it more from the top right here. What it does is it allows you to either see the whole revolve or a portion of it. So if I take that maybe down to, let's see, 100, something like close to 180, you can see it's only going to show me half of the object. Let's just adjust a little bit more. Alright, you can see what's happening here. The more I increase that value towards 360, the more it's going to close off that shape. Okay, and you can still go in here and manipulate the orientation all you want. Alright, and right now we're using a solid cap, and let's see what happens if we turn on the hollow. Alright, now what it's doing is it's kind of coring out the inside of that object. Alright, let's keep it solid though. And here we have an offset, and what that does is it offsets the object, the revolve, from the center point, the z-axis in this case, I believe. So let's change that offset. Let's maybe say 5 points and tab out of that. See what it's done? It's started the revolve 5 points from the center. So you can actually just kind of bore a hole down inside there using this right here. And this control over here was, let's see, I might have to take off preview. Enough of this. I thought when I unchecked preview that it would go back to its original state, so I'm going to cancel that right here. Go back to 3D Revolve. Okay, there we go. Now that line that I originally put there on the Z-axis, that was the left edge of the whole shape. Now I put that line right along that edge here, so that's where it revolved it from the left. If I were to have done it from the right edge, I would have gotten a completely different effect. So let's check that for a minute. Click on Preview. And you can see you have something totally different here. Sort of interesting, but not exactly what I had intended. Right. I find some of the greatest features in Illustrator by mistake, actually. Alright, so let's go back to the left edge. Okay. You know what? I'm trying to think what this reminds me of. It's some sort of game. Was it Life or something? You know, I grew up with board games instead of video games, really. I mean, I had video games like the Atari 2600 and stuff. But this looks like some sort of game piece I know real well. Just can't think of it. Anyway, I'm gonna make myself crazy trying to think of it. I'm sure I'll think of it when I'm done the video anyway. All right, now let's move on here. Sorry, I'm babbling. Now we have the surfacing here, the lighting for the surface. Right now we have it set to plastic shading, and that's what gives it its nice shiny effect. If I were to change that to diffuse, it's going to take away some of that luster. Okay, then we have no shading whatsoever, and that just gives you your shape without any real definition. And then we have wireframe, which just gives you a wireframe. And there may be an occasion where you want to create some artwork that's in wireframe. That'll render out that way if I click OK. Right. As you can see, we have a wireframed object, and there might be some uses for that. I certainly can't think of any at the moment, but maybe a technical drawing of some sort. Okay, so we'll move that up there. Click on Preview once again. Oh, you know why it didn't change? Because I still have it on wireframe. Plastic shading. And for some reason it didn't update. Let me try that again. Diffuse shading. Plastic shading. No shading. Plastic shading. You know what? Let's cancel out of this and see what happens. Well, you know, it probably didn't have anything selected. That's probably what. I'm not Polish for nothing. Alright, now with it selected, I'm going to click on 3D Revolve. Now Preview. And now let's go back to plastic shading. I thought there was something wrong with the program for a second. But nope, it's just me. So now we have lighting, and this little icon right there represents the light that we see over here. And I can move that where I want, and you can see it's going to update as I move it. I think it was good where it was. And you can change the light intensity. I can take that down a little bit. See, and I can slide it down and the light gets less intense. Okay. Ambient light, that's just kind of the light that's coming from every direction. Light other than your specified light source. So I could take that down a bit. And the whole area on the shape is going to get darker. Or I could make it lighter. That's kind of a washout, but that's kind of nice. Alright, then we have highlight intensity. Let's see if we can't see what that does. I'm not seeing much. If I take it all the way down, maybe we'll see some sort of abrupt change. Okay, there we go. Alright, so that's highlight intensity. That's how strong it is, I think. Then the highlight size, it's already at 90%, so let's go down. Oh yeah, there we go. The shines are smaller. So I didn't spend a whole lot of time, really, on this effect before doing this video. So I'm kind of learning some of these things as we go in here. And I hope that's okay with you. Blend steps. Now that's something I do know about. Now that is going to determine how smoothly the transition between the light and the shade happens. If I were to take that way down to like maybe 4 and tab away, all right. Actually, it's kind of a neat effect. I like that. Take that back up to maybe 50. It's more realistic. Of course, the more we go, the smoother it's going to be, the longer it's going to take to render it, and the more processing power it's going to use. And I don't know whether you care or not. Okay. So these are things that you go back and forth and tweak until you get what you're looking for. Okay, I think I called that, didn't I? Or covered that. Shading is set to black. If I select it to none, we have really no shading whatsoever. So of course, that's what none means, I guess. And then if we choose custom, we get to choose a color. Ooh, I like that. That's kind of nice. Kind of looks like a red hot game piece. That's the one you want your friend to use. Use the game piece that's not red hot, so you don't burn yourself. Alright, look out for yourself, alright? Okay, so you can change that by clicking on the color swatch, and you get your color picker. You can change that to whatever you like. Alright, there you go. I like leaving it on black, of course. Alright, now up here we also have some other buttons. Fewer options. That just gets rid of the lighting part. And we'll keep that on. And then we have map art. And when you map art onto these 3D objects, you have to use a symbol from your symbol library. So before we actually go into that, let's take a look at the symbol library. I'm going to click OK. Just accept what we have. And go to my window menu. And go down to, what did I say it was? Symbols, that's right. Down to symbols. Alright. And there's that symbol for the revolve. I don't know if you can see that. That's what I put on here. But for this one, I'm going to use that leaf like I used in the extrude and bevel. Right. So as long as you have a symbol in here, you're good to go. And it's easy to make symbols. Say I want to make like a star, which I did in the other video as well. Let's just take a shape, put on a star, and just make that black star right there. And let's make it just black this time. Make it black. Alright. And let's just take that star and drag that right into our symbols panel. And we can name it if we like. Why don't we do that? Star. Okay. And we can get rid of the star that's there. So now let's go back to 3D Revolve. And let's go to map art. Okay, you can see if you look up in here, we have a choice between 8 different faces. And what Illustrator does is it takes the object and divides that mesh up into faces. And right here we're looking at 1 of 8. And if you look at your object, you'll see that there's a red ring going around the bottom. So this circle right here represents that bottom face of the object. And let's go to the next one. And this represents that little piece on top right there. I'm not going to mess with that. Let's go to maybe this one here. And you can see it's highlighting that bottom part. Let's just go through all of these and see which ones they are. One more time. One more time. Okay, that is the area where I think I'm going to try to put the leaf. Alright, so with that selected, I'm going to come in here where it says symbol, and it only works with symbols. So I'm going to click on that and just go down, maybe choose my star. Alright, and let's click on preview so we can see what's going on. Alright, you can see it through that star right in there on that neck. And sometimes I find when you're adjusting these things in here, something goes wacky and you lose it. Right. Okay, so we put our star on that face. Let's click OK. And we can take our object and just kind of move that around, see what's going on. If I keep turning it, we're going to lose our star. Let's maybe put a star down here as well. I know this isn't real artistic or anything, it's just kind of demonstrating how it works. Alright, let's try that piece. No, that one there. Let's go with that one. And let's select maybe, let's try that leaf. Ooh, that's tiny. Make it bigger. Alright. So you just grab your shape and you just kind of stretch it out. And you can see how it's being applied to your shape over here. Let's click OK. And move our object around a little bit and see what we did. Okay, so we've mapped a star onto that part, and we've mapped a leaf onto that part. Alright, so I think that pretty much does it. There really isn't too much more to show you. A lot of experimentation. So I think I'm going to leave you hanging right there with the 3D Revolve tool, or the 3D Revolve effect. For Cartoon Smart, I'm Brian Zaikowski. Thank you for watching. Oh, you know what? Before I end it, I'm sorry. In this object here, you see a drop shadow behind. That's not part of the 3D Revolve. If I go in here, there's not going to be anything for creating a drop shadow. I created the drop shadow separately. So what I did is, with that object selected, I went to Effect, Stylize, and just went over to Drop Shadow. And that's what I had in there before for this one, I think. So we'll just go ahead and accept that. I should take that up to normal. And click OK. And there we go. Also, in the other video where I did extrude and bevel, my initial... let me see if I can't show you that, actually, before going any further. Was it this one here? I'm looking at stuff off the video, so Revolve. Okay, here it is. Okay. Oh, no, not there. File, revert. I can't revert. Anyway, when I started this video, okay, well, let's close that. Alright. Anyway, what I was going to say was, at the beginning of the other video, I put a drop shadow in there, and I never did explain that I did that separately. So hopefully that makes amends for that. Now I think I'll let it go. For Cartoon Smart, I'm Brian Zaikowski. Thank you for watching. Hope you learned something.